My name is Emily, and I was 24 when my older sister looked at my fiancé, flirted with him right in front of me, and told him he would be better off with anyone else. My parents were there. They heard her, and they said nothing. The worst part was that this was not the first time my sister had crossed a line with someone I was dating. For most of my life, she had been the favorite. She was 3 years older than me, and growing up, the rules always seemed to change depending on which one of us had done something wrong. She could steal my things, push me around, shut doors in my face when her friends were over, and chase me out of rooms because she did not want me near them. My parents rarely stopped her. But if she accused me of something, that was different. I could deny it, I could explain what really happened. It did not seem to matter. Once my dad actually saw her break something. She blamed me anyway. I was still the one who got punished. That moment stayed with me because it taught me something I spent years trying to unlearn. In my family, proof did not matter as much as who my parents wanted to believe. And they wanted to believe my sister. As we got older, the favoritism became harder to dismiss. My parents paid for her college. They helped with her cars. They continued supporting her financially in ways they never supported me. I kept telling myself that money was not love. Maybe they were helping her because she needed more. Maybe I was stronger. Maybe being the independent daughter was supposed to be some kind of compliment. But it was not only about money. My sister lied to my friends about me, she mocked my appearance, and then she crossed a line I could not explain away. She slept with one of my boyfriends. Even after that, I still tried to have a relationship with my family. That is the part I sometimes struggle to explain. People hear everything that happened and ask why I kept going back. The answer is simple. They were my parents. She was my sister. I kept thinking that if I tried hard enough, stayed calm enough, forgave enough, and gave them enough chances, eventually something would change. I wanted to believe there would be one moment when my parents would finally look at what was happening and say, "Enough." Then I got engaged. I thought that might be the moment. I was happy. I was excited. I was about to marry someone who treated me with more respect than I was used to receiving from my own family. I did not expect a huge celebration. I did not need expensive gifts. I just expected my family to be happy for me. Instead, there was almost nothing. No real excitement. No meaningful congratulations. No sense that this was an important moment in my life. I tried to ignore that disappointment because I did not want to ruin my own happiness by waiting for approval I had spent years chasing. Then my sister turned her attention to my fiancé. At first, it was the kind of behavior someone could try to dismiss as joking. She was too interested in him. Too playful. Too familiar. I could feel myself becoming uncomfortable, but I had spent my entire life being told that my reactions were the problem. So for a moment, I did what I had always done. I waited. Then she made it impossible to pretend. She flirted with him and told him he would be better off with anyone else. I was standing there. My parents were standing there. And after everything she had already done in my past relationships, I watched my mother and father say nothing. That silence hurt more than I expected. My fiancé got angry on my behalf. We left. And once we were away from them, we talked about what had happened. He was not only upset about what my sister had said. He was upset that my parents had watched it happen. He had seen in a few moments what I had spent years trying to explain to myself. This was not one rude comment. This was a pattern. My sister crossed a boundary. My parents protected the peace by doing nothing. And I was expected to absorb whatever damage was left behind. Then he said something I had been too afraid to say myself. He told me he thought it would be better for me to have no contact with them. I did not immediately feel relieved. Part of me still felt guilty. That old voice was still there, asking whether I was overreacting. Should I try one more time? Should I explain it more clearly? Should I give my parents another chance to understand? Then I thought about what had actually happened. My sister had already slept with one of my boyfriends. Now I was engaged, and she was flirting with my fiancé and telling him he could do better than me. My parents had heard it. And once again, nothing happened to her. The only person expected to change was me. That was when I realized I had already tried. For years. So I sent my family one final message. I explained how their treatment had affected me. I explained that I was done participating in a relationship where my sister could hurt me and my parents would either defend her or pretend nothing had happened. Then I stopped contact. I blocked the direct route back into the same cycle. And that should have been the end of it. It was not. My mother could no longer reach me directly, so she started reaching outward. She contacted my friends. She posted on social media. And suddenly, the story being presented to other people was that my parents had always been loving. My sister had supposedly been an amazing older sister and role model, and I was the daughter cruelly excluding them from an important chapter of my life. That was almost surreal. I had spent years being told not to make a big deal out of my sister's behavior. But the moment I quietly removed myself, my mother was willing to make the situation public. It was easier to tell people I had changed than to tell them why. If you were in my position, tell me in the comments. If your sister had already crossed a line with one boyfriend, then flirted with your fiancé and told him he could do better while your parents sat there saying nothing, would you keep trying to save that family relationship, or would you walk away? For me, that was finally enough. I did not contact my mother to correct every version of the story she told. I did not get into a public argument. I did not try to force my sister to admit what she had done. For the first time, I stopped treating their understanding as something I needed in order to move forward. My fiancé had seen the pattern clearly. And once I stopped defending my family to myself, I saw it too. The favoritism had not started with my engagement. It had been there when I was a child, and my sister could hurt me without consequences. It had been there when I was punished even when my father knew she was responsible. It had been there when my parents invested in her life while giving me far less. It had been there when she lied about me, mocked me, and interfered in my relationships. The engagement did not create the problem. It exposed it at a moment when I could no longer convince myself that nothing was wrong. There was also something different now. I was not only deciding what I would tolerate as their daughter. I was deciding what kind of behavior I was willing to bring into the marriage I was building. My fiancé did not deserve to sit through years of family gatherings where my sister could disrespect our relationship and everyone else pretended it was normal. And I did not want to begin a marriage still chasing approval from people who could not even celebrate my engagement without allowing my sister to turn it into another attack. For years, I had confused keeping the peace with being a good daughter. But the peace only existed because I was the one expected to stay quiet. My sister did not have to change. My parents did not have to confront her. I was simply supposed to take it. No contact changed that. It did not erase the past. It did not make my mother suddenly understand. It did not produce some perfect apology. What it did was end my participation in the pattern. My mother could post whatever she wanted. She could tell people she had been a loving parent. She could describe my sister as the wonderful older sister I had somehow rejected. But she could no longer make me stand in the same room and pretend I believed it too. That was the consequence. Not revenge. Not a dramatic confrontation. Just distance. And for a family that had spent years assuming I would always come back, distance was the one boundary they could not talk me out of. I used to think I needed my parents to finally admit that they favored my sister. I thought hearing them say it would prove I had not imagined everything. I do not need that anymore. Their actions answered the question. When my sister hurt me, they protected her from consequences. When I tried to protect myself, they treated my boundary like the betrayal. That told me everything I needed to know. My engagement should have been one of the happiest moments of my life. Instead, it became the moment I finally stopped begging my family to treat me like I mattered. And strangely, that gave me something I had never been able to get from them. Clarity. My sister looked at the man I was going to marry and told him he could do better than me. My parents heard her. They said nothing. But this time I did. Not by screaming. Not by fighting. Not by trying one more time to make them understand. I said it by leaving. And for the first time in my life, I did not go back.